Hi, I'm Dave.
And I'm Jennifer, and we are a middle aged couple with an outrageous desire to experience as much movie popcorn as two people possibly can in the course of one calendar year.
That might be the only way to explain why we have literally seen three movies in the last 9 days.
Yep,
That's crazy.
yep,
That's a movie every 3 days.
yeah,
That's
although
too
we,
much.
we spread them out,
And I haven't even gone to see any horror movies recently.
which is so weird because there's been a different horror movie every day at Regal this entire month.
Yeah, but you got to go to like Essex Crossing or New Rochelle to see them.
I'm sorry, darling.
Yeah. Like, yeah, no, honestly,
No,
they're
I don't
playing. They're
disagree.
playing the original Frankenstein on Halloween, and I'm not going to be able to go see it.
Wow, I'm sorry, baby.
It's unfortunate, but it's what's happening. It's real. So anyway, so we make a video for every movie we see together in 2025,
Mm-hmm.
and we also go to the Regal Monday Mystery Movies, which is where you buy a ticket without knowing what movie you're going to see.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we did tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Because God knows I would not have seen this movie otherwise.
Me neither.
Really, I'm upset that I did because it's a very upsetting movie. So this is Christy.
So this is a biopic, and it's a sports biopic.
It's so much more and so much worse.
Well, I haven't finished. I, in fact, said just a few words, right? So it's a sports biopic of a boxer, American woman boxer named Christy Martin, who fought under the name Christy Martin from the early 90s to
2010.
2010-ish. And she's in the Boxing Hall of Fame, having looked her up after having seen the movie. First big prominent female boxer, right? So it's the story of her life, but as you can imagine, if someone's going to make a movie like this person probably did not have just a shiny, happy, oh, gee, I decided I was good at boxing and I became a boxer and I won a lot, yay, kind of movie.
Well, there is
so
that.
There's going to be some tragedy as well.
The first half of the movie is that. It's literally
A
this
little
woman
bit.
cannot be beaten.
She cannot be beaten, but life is trying to beat her down while she wins in boxing. But it is not just an unadulteratedly happy beginning of this movie.
Oh, no. Like, her life is miserable.
Yes, that's the point
so
I'm trying to make.
strong that she keeps overcoming all these obstacles. And in fact, the movie gets absurd very early on because she literally is knocking out every opponent with one punch. It comes across as just being over the top even then. For all I know, that's accurate, that she did beat all these opponents with one punch.
I think that's the thing about I don't remember. I vaguely remember her as a boxer. Like, I don't like boxing, but this is like the time I was paying attention to sports, and I kind of like vaguely remember her. But the thing about whoever the first good woman is in a sport, she always outclasses the competition in like housingly silly ways. So I actually wasn't surprised by that. Like, if she really was like this first transcendently good boxer, she probably didn't have any meaningful competition until later in her career, where another generation came behind her of people who had good training. And so, like, women's team sports, like women's college basketball, there was this one team that basically like won everything for like a generation, and nobody could catch up. And so now there are many, many more good women's basketball players, but like at the collegiate level, there's like 12 teams that like can play each other, and they just house almost everybody else almost every day. So it felt ludicrous. I understand why it felt ludicrous. I don't know this to be true, but I would bet you money it probably happened.
Sure.
Because she was like this like unusually good person, and she basically created the sport behind her by being so good. And, you see in the movie, she eventually gets outclassed, but she's also outclassed by by fighting someone who's literally bigger than she is, who she should never have fought in the first place.
Right. So this raises my actual problem, my first problem with this movie, which is that if you're going to make a biopic and you are actually going to try to do some justice to your subject, right, and get accurate, but the story you're telling is so absurd in its lurid and just tawdry depths. like, what do, right? If the story you're going to tell is, and it gets real dark, folks, so buckle up. But if it's just tragedy porn, like if the reality is just tragedy after tragedy, it just becomes pornography. And I actually like pornography better than I like this kind of thing. Like this, pornography doesn't lie to you about what it's trying to accomplish. This movie is trying to be about this woman's ability to overcome and rise above and be stronger than everybody else. And it sells that just fine. But her story is just a story of just like somebody who had the worst imaginable life and barely made it through. And I don't know, it gets, especially towards the end, in the part that's going to be real hard to talk about because it's so awful, it just comes across as absurd.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, the movie is too long, right? Like it's 2.5 hours, and it is trying to incorporate basically like 1989 to 2010.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't actually need to do all of that quite in that way to tell the story it was trying to tell. There was no way it was going to be happy, right? Like, we're just going to do spoilers. You're not going to see this movie. Yeah. And if you remember this woman, then you know how the story goes.
Mm-hmm.
But she marries her much older manager and trainer very early in her career, despite the fact that she's either a lesbian or bisexual, and is closeted because she's growing up in West Virginia, and her parents are disgusted by this, and so she marries the
parents are disgusted by her sexuality,
yes.
Not by her marrying a man who is 20 years older than her.
Exactly, who could conceivably be older than them.
Right.
Depending on how old they were when they got married. And so I've seen a few movies targeted to women. I've read a few books targeted towards women. I'm like, oh, you marry the much older manager, this is not going to end well, right? There is going to be control, there's going to be violence, and there's going to be domestic violence. And boy howdy, there's all of it, all the way through. And lots of threats of it through the movie, and then he tries to kill her, and fails. So, that's why the movie is made. Like, it can have a triumphant ending because she survives and gets to, curse him out when she gets him sent to jail. But, I don't usually tend to, like, the sports biopic thing doesn't do a whole lot for me because what every beat of the sports biopic will be. And this movie hits every one of those beats. There are parts of that script that I could have written, and anyone who's seen a sports biopic could write the script for that. And then anyone who's seen, like, What's Love Got to Do with It, or like any other like domestic violence movie, celebrity domestic violence movie, could write the script for that part of it. And both of those movies are happening at the same time. Like, by virtue of this being like a real person who like went through real shit, I kind of wish this was a better movie because, I like, you want to have gone through all this and then like put it on the screen and have it be something that people will actively, like, even if they don't enjoy watching it, you know what I mean, but want to watch because it's a good movie, right? Like, What's Love Got to Do with It is a really good movie, mm-hmm. even though it's a really hard watch.
Yeah.
And this is not anywhere near as good a movie.
I'd say the sports movie stuff is it's just cliches. It's literally every sports movie you've ever seen. I had to see another sports movie about a female boxer for Monday Mystery Movie like last year. And it's exactly the same movie. And it like down to individual plot beats. Even the literal ending of the movie is the actual athlete, like the real world person, is standing, next to the stage and says good luck to the person who is playing them in the movie. And then you cut to actual photographs of the real person, like over, inspiring music. It's just like, this is literally stock footage of a sports movie. The tragedy stuff is actually like the strongest part of the movie. Mm-hmm. It is horrifying, harrowing, super upsetting, and done in a really effective way, with one exception, which is that the actor who's playing the manager, is put in this ridiculous wig and is made to look so reptilian and so horrifyingly bad and just dumb and brutish and mean and, worthless, that it's just like, I honestly thought this might have been a comedy, like, until things really got bad.
Yeah, I guess because I see more movies like this or read more things like this, like yeah, it was over the top, but like I've met that guy. You
Oh,
know
of
what I mean?
course,
Like
no.
we've all met that guy, and some of those guys have people. You know what I mean? Like, and what, no matter how loathsome they are, how like, comb over they are, how like, this guy also like, pretends to be more than he is and says that he can, connect her to Don King and whatever. And he's bullshitting, right? Like he's a pretty small time guy. And she's too small town to know that he's a small time guy. He's just a bigger time guy than the first, people that she dealt with. But like that story happens literally every fucking day,
I'm not
And
denying
so it yes, it's over the top, but it didn't feel, it didn't feel absurd, because not just because I knew that it was a biopic. Like, there was a little introduction before the movie where Sydney Sweeney comes on and says, "Hey, this is the mystery movie. It's a true story." And so, but even without that, like if I had known what I was watching was a true story, it's just kind of like, yeah, that like rings true, even in its horribleness and its cartoonishly horribleness.
Yeah.
It's like being a frog in a pot, and like it just gets a little bit hotter over the course of 20 years, and you don't realize how nasty a pot you've been in until your husband tries to kill you.
No, I totally agree. I think that this kind of story does happen far too often, and it is horrifying to have to watch it happen on the screen and know that people are actually living through this right now. It is, I mean, my experience is like working in college. I did like a nonprofit thing for a battered women's home, and for lack of a better term, that's what we called it back then in the 80s. A shelter. And so I got to hear a lot of stories and talk to a lot of people, both abusers and abused. And yeah, these stories are very real. This is my problem here, is I don't know how to talk about this, because it's just, the movie is so absurd and so bad. And it clearly has its heart in the right place.
Mm-hmm.
It really wants to say something meaningful about abuse, but it's not allowed to, because the director wasn't good enough, and the actors aren't good enough, and the script isn't
very good. The script is too trite. Like you've like I said, you've seen these movies before, and even when you're telling a story that has been told before, like there are almost no new stories, right? Like, we saw Frankenstein, which is, a story written a zillion years ago and reproduced a zillion ways, right? Like a good storyteller, a good visual storyteller in a movie, a good script writer can still find a way to make that feel a little fresh. And, like you might be hitting the beats so that I feel like I'm watching the right genre, like it shouldn't, I would have been distressed if you had turned this into a musical or something, like let's not make this Amelia Perez or some such shit, right? But yeah, it was trite. And so, when a movie is trite and then it's too long, and and then the performances are not particularly transcendent, like, yeah, you just, I would want this, like I said, I would want this to be better than it is. And it just, it doesn't hold up a whole lot.
It absolutely speaks to the idea that, like, So that Christy in the film is in trouble. She knows she's in trouble, and so she reaches out to all these people who, some of whom do try to help her, but then she can't bring herself to accept their help, or she's too afraid of her husband to make use of that help.
Where she's offered help before she's willing to accept it.
Right.
And then when she does want help, she reaches out not to the person as shown in the movie offering her the help, but people who reject that she needs the help,
right.
like her family.
But there were also people in the film who offered to help that she could have reached out to.
Yes,
would have
and
been
then
supportive.
and she didn't. Yeah.
Yeah, and she does make some attempts to get help, but then she like turns around and says, "No, never mind, I didn't." All of which is very, very common in these stories.
Exactly, and I'm sure
real,
happened in real life. I mean,
very clear psychological reasons why these things happen, but the movie isn't smart enough to like show that, like, or to expound on it. It's the movie just wants to give you the facts of the matter. That's the thing, is I think at points it's a sports biopic. At times it's attempting to be a true crime movie. I don't know. It's and it does. I think honestly, everybody involved probably thought to themselves, we are going to make a film that will show what domestic abuse is really like, and it'll get people thinking. And I hope that some people do.
I think that's part of it, but I actually don't think that's the movie that they intended to make. I think the movie they intended to make was a movie about a woman who survives.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, she like survives growing up in this place that hates her, right? And she survives doing a sport that doesn't make any sense to anybody at the time she starts doing it.
Survives a family that can't give her what she needs.
Survives a family that can't give her what she needs. She survives an adult relationship that can't give her what she needs, but does give her something that she needs, because this adult relationship gives her boxing, right? Like, that's how she thinks of it. And you know, it gives her that, and then it traps her, right? And she survives that. And that's what this movie is really supposed to be, right? I think it's a story of survival, right? It's a woman's movie of survival, and what do women have to survive? Very often, men. Yeah. And that's what this movie is. It just doesn't do it particularly well. And in the times where it is showing you, like, here is the survival, it's done in ways that you have literally seen before. So it's yes, I get it. It's this movie of survival. I've seen this movie of survival before. So why is this one different or compellingly interesting? It would be compellingly interesting with better direction, better script, better movie making. Because, the fundamental story is a story of survival. So, like I appreciate I appreciate that story. I want that to be the story. Like, if you have to live a shitty life, I want there to be I survived it at the end, right? Like, I got the girl at the end, right? Yep. She gets a girl. She does. Great. Like, I want that to be good. I want more of the movie, honestly, to be about that, right? Like, you make a 2-hour-long movie where half of the movie is about, like, I had this boxing career, and then I, my husband tried to kill me. And the other half of the movie is, like, becoming a person who can get beyond that, and, like, be someone who can tell this story and become someone who can be out, right? And, she ends up marrying another boxer that she defeated earlier in her career, right? Like, and, like, that's an interesting story to me as well, right? And that might be a very different take on a sports biopic, where the sports part is like the first half of the movie, and the other half of the movie is what's life after sports, like, that I would imagine she probably had a pretty hard life after sports too. Like, you probably go through some shit when you have to put your body back together and figure out how you live a life after your sport's done, right? Like, so, and, I'm sure there's a survival element to that as well, like, with at least one positive element that we know from the end of the like the screen that's shown at the end of the movie of like, that she does, that she ends up like dating and marrying this character that you see in the movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah.
That's what I got to say about this.
Yeah.
I mean,
we
don't
how many
recommend it.
other Sydney Sweeney movies have I ever seen? I feel like she was in a whole bunch of stuff, but most of it is stuff I've never seen.
Well, you saw Madam Web.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I saw that on Netflix. I have no memory of it. And all I remember is Dakota Johnson. Like, Sydney Sweeney has a smaller part.
Sure.
But yeah, I guess I did see that. I don't know if I've really seen her in anything else. We
saw her on Saturday Night Live.
Oh, yeah. And, so Dakota Johnson on Saturday Night Live, a horror show. Sydney Sweeney on Saturday Night Live, they didn't do a whole lot with her because Saturday Night Live is not particularly good that season. But I could see some appeal to her.
Sure.
Like, I did not wonder, why is this person an actress, right? So, but, what's the comparison is Dakota Johnson.
She was in something I saw. Maybe, was she in Bodies?
I don't know. I definitely didn't see
there.
that.
We don't need to do this on the video.
Well, that's why I'm like, why are you telling me to get the
Okay.
phone? Anywho, the other actors that were in this that we did recognize from other places, Merritt Weaver from who's in Severance. She is Sydney Sweeney's mom, and she's
a small but pivotal role.
And does not come off well
Horrible
in this movie,
mom.
but she did a good job. And
Worst mom since Allison Janney and I, Tonya.
Well, when this movie started, that's what I was thinking. Was like, oh, this is Sydney Sweeney's I, Tonya. And
that was Allison Janney, right?
I think she played the mom in that. Yeah. I, Tonya is an infinity better movie.
Margot Robbie's a much better actress.
Yeah. And
Sorry.
that is a sports biopic that does not just follow the beats. It is better. And yes, of course, that story is like overwhelmingly, ridiculously overdramatic. Yeah. But somehow the movie didn't feel that way, despite the fact that it was done in this insane way. But they turned it into something a little fresh for a sports biopic.
I
right?
loved that film.
It was a good movie.
I don't like sports movies.
And you don't like sports movies. So that's what you do when you do good writing for a sports biopic.
Yeah.
But anywho, and then what was that guy's name? Tony Cavallero, who played Keefe in The Righteous Gemstones, has a very small part in this movie. And I was
totally unrecognizable.
I recognized him.
Okay.
And I was like, that's hilarious. Anywho.
Do you remember who played the trainer husband?
That guy's name is Ben Foster,
Okay.
and I don't actually have any idea who he is.
I don't know what to tell you. Okay.
He may honestly be very famous. I have no idea, but I don't know him.
Anyway, we don't recommend Christy.
No, I wish I could, but I don't. You should watch I, Tonya instead. That's what you should do.
Definitely. That's a good movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Until next time, which will probably be like tomorrow.
No, it's going to be at least a week, if not two.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Popcorn is calling, folks.
That's true.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.